Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Monday, September 9th, 2024. I've been doing a countdown of my favorite video games of all time through each day of the year, and coming in at number 114 is The Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle-earth.
Sauron wages war with all of Middle-earth. He must be stopped, or all shall fall into darkness. The hobbit Frodo Baggins now bears the ring, guarded by a fellowship drawn from all the free peoples of Middle-earth. The One Ring must be returned to Mount Doom and destroyed in the very fires of its creation.
Okay, so this is the highest ranked Lord of the Rings game on my list. It's also going to be the last real-time strategy game for a while, so if you're into both of those things, get it while the getting's good. In Battle for Middle-earth, you play as different factions throughout the events of The Lord of the Rings, going largely through the entire story with RTS gameplay. As you move through the campaign, you are presented with different groups that move and shift both in members and location on the map as the plot unfolds. The game picks up with the Fellowship setting off from Rivendell deep into the mines of Moria. Here, there's no army to control, but you do get introduced to the basic controls of the game, and with the whole Fellowship as hero units that level up and unlock new abilities as they do so. Some are passive, some are activated, and some you can even toggle an autocast. You're also introduced to one of the core mechanics of the game, where you can spend what's called power to progress through a talent tree of sorts of passive and activated abilities you can select from the left side of the screen. Moria is pretty easy overall, but if you're unfamiliar with one of the most important fundamentals in RTS combat, you're going to have a bad time against the Balrog on any difficulty but easy. I hope you like kiting because, well, yeah. Look at Gandalf go! The game utilizes an interesting blend of in-engine cinematics and shots from the Peter Jackson films, and while it assumes you know what's going on, it does a pretty good job of covering all of the major story beats after the Fellowship is formed. From Moria, you switch to the Riders of Rohan, fending off Isengard's encroachment on the Westfold. You can tackle these missions in any order as the opportunities arise, and there's different bonuses throughout, so you can pick whatever seems more interesting to you and get that bonus first. The Rohan missions introduce more army management aspects to the game, with a central base that you can work with, and then different sized building spots for farms, which generate the resources you build everything else with, and then different production or upgrade buildings going into the larger spots. And then there's different kinds of static defense, such as towers and walls and stuff, that can go into the smaller spots. For most things, the upgrades are actually built into the production buildings as an option, so you can work with relatively limited spots available if you're okay with delaying the production a little bit. Controls of the armies themselves are pretty simple, being able to set up rudimentary control groups and then moving them around the map to attack. The basic army units do just that. They attack, though some can be placed into different formations to create different strengths and weaknesses, and others, like the Riders of Rohan, can even switch in and out of mounted mode. The game is, I think, one of the most approachable but nuanced RTS campaigns I've ever played. Macro mechanics are fairly forgiving, and the army sizes rarely get overwhelmingly large to control, with the focus on the heroes of the story and the global powers you unlock, allowing you to do a lot of the work. If you do want to focus on full armies, most of those units are very easy to control and don't have extra abilities, making it very simple to do everything you want. Especially as you get later in the campaign and get to things like the Battle for Helm's Deep, things do get really interesting. The way they handled Helm's Deep is truly remarkable, and it's a big epic fight. It's a long thing, and it's great. But unfortunately, I couldn't dedicate enough time to these recordings to play so far into the game for this video. It is great though, trust me. Oh, and also, I forgot to mention, that's only one of the campaigns. You can, of course, follow the plot of the books and films. You can also just, be evil. Being able to play the forces of evil as a faction is really cool, and provides some decent asymmetry to the game. It's nowhere near the extent of something like StarCraft, but it's definitely close to something like maybe Halo Wars or Warcraft. But how much does asymmetry matter to a game that I exclusively played the campaign of when I was a kid? Apart from making the campaigns feel different for the sake of being different, I guess it doesn't. But just this week, I played the multiplayer for this game for the first time, just to finally check it out. Back when the game came out 20 years ago, I had no interest in playing an RTS game competitively, even against bots, because I was there to play out the story, not make up my own. I'm thrilled to report I was an idiot 20 years ago, and I had been missing out. This ranking may be just for the stellar single-player campaigns, but I was shocked in my curiosity of how good the multiplayer was. You pick one of the different factions and have access to a simplified skill tree with the power stuff. Depending on your faction, you can summon different hero units from your main base that are thematically tied to it, though some are way more expensive than others. You start out with a single citadel and can expand from there. Most of your expansions, however, aren't in the form of fully functioning bases, but rather just single building nodes that you can build another farm or defenses on. Also, there's neutral enemy camps, like these warg layers that you can destroy in order to earn extra resources. Sometimes there are smaller bases you can actually establish with a few buildings of your choice, although not as much as your main base. And all of these little farms and other bases throughout the map encourage lots of activity and skirmishes and movement in this battle for attrition and map control. It's really good. It's everything RTS combat should be. The different options for defensive play makes it about this tug of war throughout the whole battleground, rather than just hitting an early timing or something and running over your opponent's main base, which is, the less preferred option. I didn't play enough to really get a feel for how balanced the different factions actually are in the, long run, but it was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't be opposed to trying to find a way to play on a custom server or something if that's possible. The greatest storytelling moments of The Lord of the Rings are about the interpersonal relationships between the characters, like when Sam chases after Frodo through the water even though he can't swim, or when Sam helps Frodo to muster the courage to keep going in the face of insurmountable odds, or when Sam delivers the greatest monologue in the history of cinema, or when Sam saves Frodo from Shelob, or when Sam carries Frodo up Mount Doom. So basically, when Sam does absolutely anything, because he is a treasure and the true hero of Middle-earth. Samwise Gamgee doesn't do a whole lot in most of this game. But all of the cool moments, with fighting and good triumphing over evil in combat, yeah, this game does that better than just about anything. The combat is actually quite strategic and full of swingy moments, like reinforcing with a summoned Ent Forest, or hitting that big group heal just as it comes off cooldown, or summoning an entire undead army. It's great. What the game doesn't do, and this matters a lot unfortunately, is good camera controls. You either use arrow keys, which sucks and is slow, or hold down right click while you move the mouse, which is less slow, but sometimes the whole screen and your mouse just freak out and you go everywhere. It's a problem. But you can pick one of those things and get used to it, I guess. Join me tomorrow as I talk about my 113th favorite game, where I think I'm getting hit on by a rabbit with a gun.